Revisiting old places in your childhood.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I don't go back. I think I had this kind of fast forward version of life that I'm living, where it's like I don't really go backwards. It's so interesting. I'll give an example. When I was younger, I used to want to read comic books, and my mom wasn't really necessarily into that. What's the school, whatever. I guess she, at the time, it didn't seem like it would be a scholarly to read that.
Right.
And so I would drive past this comic book store over and over and over again every day, even when I got my own car, and I'm the independent of my mother. And so I'm driving, and one day I decide, oh, my mom's not in the car, I can kind of go in there.
Yeah.
And I explored it, and so then all of a sudden it created this feeling of, I don't know if it's nostalgia, but this familiarity, and then all these other things start to come back. And so I guess that's the value of, again, going back to something that you may have not gone back to, because I don't have a history of revisiting shit.
And sorry.
But I couldn't revisit things on my own, in my own version of independence, right?
Yeah, and I think it's even bigger than that, because I just think that, there's a systemic way in which our histories have been erased. And a retelling of history, right? That is not true to what actually happened to us. Both joyful and a lot of raw pain, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, if we're always like, okay, forward to the next thing, they'll slowly erase us. You know what I'm saying? Slowly they will. And then also I talk a lot of shit on this. I did this chapbook, which is this huge thing in 9 weeks, and I went from black text on a page to what if it's a multimedia chapbook? Our world is consistently becoming more visual, more interdisciplinary. So what does that look like to make poetry jump off the page? And I kept saying oh, this is my mixtape because it's my first work. And then I was like, well, what if I actually made this a mixtape? What if I allowed myself, because I was at a different place in my poetry then, and what people knew me for was my political poetry, but I had all these love, sappy, lovey-dovey, little kid, early teenage, early 20s, mid-20s type shit. You couldn't even see kind of the difference in scale, because it's not chronological, the poems, it's a story. And so you can see different levels of skill, which is probably confusing to people who know me. But anyways, so I did that. I was like, okay, no, but mixtapes are supposed to be messy. So then,
it's pull and pill. I'm different ideas, because okay, this might make it on the real project, but this is the thing.
This is the thing. This is the untitled. This is the untitled unmastered.
It just felt good in that moment.
And so anyways, I was like, well, what was the music during this time that informed this? Music is so critical to my art. I usually can't write without music, to be honest with you. And then and then I had all these pictures and this time in my life that I had taken or someone had taken of me. And so I literally put all that shit together in Canva and did that shit myself. And people are shocked when I say, and then I did the cover so it actually looks like an album, there's a track list of all my poems. And then there was still a service and a duty to community inside of that. So I have the playlist that folks can download. I have a link to my newsletter where I talk about the link between poetry and our lives and how we learn about ourselves. Anyway, so I say that to say that I did all of that, and everyone would be like, "This is incredible," and then immediately I'm like, this is some old shit though. I was just waiting to get this off. I didn't even look at my book for 6 months after I released it, and then I specifically was like, I have a duty to look back at this and to understand and appreciate. And then I wrote a blog post about it actually, where I was like, I'm done talking shit on my book, because this version of her deserves to be witnessed and seen and frozen in this moment of time, and there's wisdom in her, and I would not be the poet that I am without all of these poems that I've written. And so it was just an exercise in accepting myself.
Well, I think it's also acknowledgement of the 10,000 hours.
Yes, the acknowledgement of the 10,000 hours.
I think sometimes I've done photography for 10 years. I've done every walk, everything I kind of wanted to do in regards to the space that I'm interested in. And so, it's I don't want to necessarily look back, because it's okay, I did that shit already. And it's nothing wrong with the stuff I did. Some of that shit is really, really, really tight. But I think it is you need to appreciate that, because it helps you appreciate what you're doing moving forward.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, we got the air sign thing going on, so we both think we're right, right?
I'm always right. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right.
It's the God complex of the Aquarius. That's true,
man.
right?
I'm a Gemini, bro, so I'm like, hey, man, I could have been wrong. I could have been wrong.
But I say that to say that I've had to confront the possibility that there's more options than the black and white. And so I also say that to say, as much as I've advocated for you to look back on your work, it is just an option available to you.
That was so nice the way you tried to free it. Yeah, you tried to say, it's just an option.
It is just an option.
The most gaslighting option. Hey, man, you don't gotta do shit. Like you don't
got to, but who wouldn't take all their options?
Yeah, and I think that's important. I think with this conversation, it's kind of giving me a different lens to do it. Because again, that was just a fast conversation we were having. But I do think there's a value to the things that you're saying and offering, because in this particular conversation, you're a poet. Like, you really be doing poetry and shit.
I really be doing poetry.
And every time I talk to you, you'd be like, yo, look, this book. I didn't understand I never understood the constant version of kind of revisiting that, because I didn't understand the thought process that now I do. Right? I
told you would.
Yeah, whatever. I think it's important. That you understand, like, this is where I was at, and this person still deserves to be honored until I make that transition to the next thing. You know what I mean? And then we do the next thing. But right now we're still in that thing because the next thing hasn't started.
Right.
And I think in the book Atomic Habits, it talks about the difference between action and motion. Right. So that is a version of your action. You actually physically made the book. It was an idea you put together. You did all the stuff. So now it's like, no, I don't just get to put that action aside. I'm in the motion process of creating my next thing.
Yes.
But while the next thing is being made, we still gonna talk about this thing. Right. It still has legs. This still has some value. And it still has stories and things that other people can pull from. And you never know who you're talking to, because they'll open that book and be like, I needed this right now.
Now, you know, it's so funny that you said that, because one of the most profound messages that I got was this girl. I grew up Catholic, as you know, and she did Catholicism with me, right? So she was like in my class or whatever, and like I think we went to middle school at one point, but we weren't super close. We just followed each other on social media. She's also Vietnamese, and then she happened to move to New York at the same time. And she sent me this like really long message out of the blue and was like, hey, you know, I was with my partner for X amount of years. I had found out that they cheated on me, and then I went to go take care of my sick mom, and that's when it happened. And when I came back, your book was in the mailroom, and I was so afraid to open it because I was afraid it was going to be this thing that I was not ready to confront. And then she was like, it was exactly what I needed. It brought me so much peace. Medicine. It was like a balm. It was a medicine. So to hear my work was a medicine to even one person, or to see random people and like, I have to, it's in my journal, but I think it's like 36 states my book is in. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's hard.
36 states. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, and then it's some random ass people too, like people I've never met. Like people, this one girl, like she posted me in like one of her like meme dumps of the year, and she was just a random person who bought my book, who found me in some way. And I was like, thank you so much for reading. And she was like, thank you so much for creating such a beautiful piece of work. And so like, you deserve to say the thing. Somebody needs your medicine.
Well, yeah, 100%. I think as a visual artist, like, you know, I'm trying to figure out I think that's what the conversation with my brother will probably be about. It's what's the purpose, right? I think when we had a conversation, I was saying, like, I think what I've picked up from you is the acceptance of the version of you that you are right now, but it's also still deeply rooted in your purpose. You have a very, very divine given purpose that you're trying to get to, and you know, this medium is just the tool that you're using with that. So however that evolves, it'll evolve, right? I think the things you speak around regards to love and politics, social awareness into these things are also deeply rooted in the way of the artist that you are now. But I also think it might grow and become something bigger than that too later.
Yeah, I'm excited by that. Before I used to be afraid of it, and my agent always tells me, go where you're scared, you know?